After the tone, please record your name. Has joined the conference.
Okay, so I've shared my browser. Hopefully you can all see that. Is that okay, Chris?
Yeah, I can see that fine.
Excellent. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt Brewster, and I'm Head of Service Delivery at Strategic Imperatives. So we're a WR3 TPI who shortly will have a relationship with Chess, and Chess will be using us to fulfill all of their orders through to OpenReach. Now, some of you may be familiar with our system in that you may have used it in other organizations, because we know there aren't that many TPIs around. So some of what you see today might be familiar to you, but some of you may never have seen it before. So I'm going to go through a few bits and pieces today. The agenda is generally setting up users and assigning them permissions, and then setting up customers, doing some provisioning and looking at some order tracking. So once you get given your set of credentials, all you need is a web browser to access our system. So it's totally web-based. And once you've got the URL, you'll be seeing a screen like this. And you'll see enter your username and password in the middle. And when you log on, you'll get taken to the homepage, which is what you're seeing here. Now, there's quite a few tabs along the top here, and that's really where the functionality is divided into several sections. So under provisioning, there's obviously provisioning-related stuff. Under tasks, stuff-related tasks, and so on, all the way across to help here on the right-hand side. Now, we're going to start with security, because that's where you would need to go to set up other users within your organization. So when you're on the security tab, you will see at the top a list of users. Sorry, the browser's just, there we go. So there's not a great deal to see on the security tab. And once you're there, you'll see a list of your existing users. And this is a test system, so there's just the one. But you'll notice there is an Add New button here on the right-hand side, and there's also a search box here. So it does paginate, so if you can't see a user there, you can either move around using the arrows or search using the magnifying glass. When you go to add a new user, you'll be asked for a small number of things. Now, obviously, username is the person's name, and you'll need to give them a login name. And the format is entirely your choice. So it can be first name.last name, or first name underscore last name, or it can be their email address, or basically whatever you want, as long as it's not been used before. You'll need to assign them a password. And the two boxes here are optional, so telephone number and email. Now, telephone number, it's generally safe to leave that blank, but email, it is a good idea to populate email, because there are some parts of the system where we can automatically send you updates of certain things. And in order to receive those emails, obviously, you're going to need to provide your email address. On the left here is a list of available roles. So the user has to have at least one role, but obviously you're probably going to give them more in a real-world scenario. And you can simply select them all using the Shift key, or you can use the Control key to select the ones you're interested in. Now, I'll go through the roles briefly so you can understand what they all do. Admin gives you access to this security tab. So if you're setting up a sort of counterpart that is also going to be able to manage users, reset passwords, and so on, then you would give them this role. If it's a member of your provisioning team or faults team, for example, and you wouldn't want them to see this screen, then you wouldn't give them that role. Dashboard is a high-level overview of your estate, so number of lines broken down by line type, quantities in like orders, fault rates, that kind of thing. So it's sort of just an informational-only role. Fault Tracker gives the user access to OpenReach's fault and order tracker notes, but obviously to the fault part. Faults gives the user the ability to raise new faults. Flexible appointmenting, that gives the user the ability to book flexible appointments, so early morning, late morning, early afternoon, evening, and weekend appointments. If they have this role, they'll be able to book those. Help gives them access to various parts of the help system. ISDN2 gives the user access to provision new ISDN2 lines. ISIN 30, the same, but obviously ISIN 30. No expedite, that prevents the user from expediting faults. So you may or may not be aware that when you log a fault with OpenReach, you can choose to expedite it, i.e. to make OpenReach treat that fault at a higher care level than the line currently has, but that's pretty expensive to do that. And as a result, there's a way of preventing users from doing it. Order tracker. Now, this is the sort of the fault tracker counterpart, so it gives the user the ability to see the order and fault tracker notes for the order side. Provisioning allows the user to do new PSTN provides, single and multi. Read-only gives the user the ability to view the dialog services tab, so they can do things like address search or OID or look at line plant, but they can't place orders or raise faults. They can locate existing orders and faults and check progress, but they can't raise any new ones. Trouble report no TRC prevents the user from assigning time-related charges to a fault. And these two here at the bottom allow you, once assigned to the user, will mean that whenever any tasks are generated by the system, such as a new appointment being issued or a new telephone number being allocated, they will be raised to tasks within our system, but also will be sent via email to the email address above. So if you want to give access to all, you simply select them all, push them across to the right-hand side, and then press Add. And in a second, we should see, there he is, Trevor Smith, our new user. So it would now be safe to give Trevor Smith his username and the password you assigned, and then they'd be able to log on. And if you gave them the security role, sorry, the admin role, they'd see this security tab and be able to sort of take on the mantle of creating new users and so on. Okay, so as I mentioned, there are several sections here along the top, and we're going to dive quickly onto the home page just to give you a little overview of what that is, because obviously it's the first thing you see when you log on, and it's broken down in a similar fashion to most of the pages on the portal. So there's a blue shortcuts box here that gives you the ability to do things. And this blue shortcuts box will generally follow you around the portal, and it's context sensitive. So whenever you're looking at a particular order, there'll be shortcuts related to that order, like cancel the order, book a new appointment, and so on. On the right-hand side here, you can see the last 7 days of orders that you've placed. Obviously, as a test system here, and this is a new account, there's nothing. And the list of open orders there, and the list of open tasks there. So as you can see, it looks pretty sort of empty at the moment, which is explained by the test system. So obviously, in a real-world scenario, when you log on, you'll see your open orders here. And in a second, when we place an order, you'll see how that's represented in the portal. So if I head over to provisioning, you'll see that the list of shortcuts change, and these are all provisioning-related shortcuts. And on the right-hand side here, there's a couple of extra boxes. So customer leaving notifications, that's where we will provide to you details of lines that are about to leave. And we also provide that in a different number of other ways as well, but it's here. And you can see a list of in-file orders in a graphical fashion. So to provide a new service, I'm going to click here, and you'll see a list of all of the things I can provide. So a new single line or multi-line, a bundled single line, ISIN 30, ISIN 2, remote call forwarding, caller redirect, or a number import. So I'm going to hit single line or multi-line. Okay, now this screen here, you will see whenever you place an acquisitive order. So whenever you place an order that's going to result in you owning a line, whether that's a provide or a transfer, we'll always ask you for this information. Other order types like ceases and transfers and so on, you won't see this because we know who the customer is. But what we're really asking you for here is please tell us some information about this customer so that downstream, when you're using our system and looking at orders and so on, you can see which customer the order relates to. So if we didn't have this screen, then when you were looking at an in-flight order, there would be no way of you knowing from looking at our system to which one of your customers that order relates. You would just see that it's a new provide and to which address and so on, but you wouldn't be able to say, oh, that's a line for Boots the Chemist in Staines. So the screen's split into two. On the left-hand side here, you can search for an existing line owner, or on the right-hand side, you can search for a new line owner. So by line owner, we really mean customer. So if you've just signed up Boots the Chemist, then you would, and this was the first order you were placing for Boots the Chemist, and you would enter it here on the right-hand side. If you'd already set up Boots the Chemist and they already had some lines with you, you could simply search on the left-hand side for one of these fields to locate their account. Now, the bottom field here is optional, What that really is used for is an account number. So generally speaking, CPs have their own CRM systems or billing systems or some system like Sage or whatever that might be where this customer is set up. And generally, those customers have some kind of account number / reference, and so we allow you to input that here. And what that really allows you to do is just tie it all together. So any feeds you get out of our system, any reports you get out of our system, you'll see this information here, so you'll know how to tie it back to your customer. Okay, now as this is a new provide, what we're going to have to do is to provide the address details. Now, this address search screen always looks like this, irrespective of the type of provide you're doing. We generally advise to just search by postcode and leave the rest blank. Obviously, you can supply it if you know it, but OpenReach do exact matches when you do searches here. So if you search for Nelson Road and OpenReach's records have Nelson RD, then you're not going to get any matches back. Let me search for one that has a few more addresses. There we go. So you can see there's 4 pages of addresses here that you can list through, or you can filter down using this box here. So if I want to look for Birch House, I can see it there. Or if you can't find an address, you would use one of these buttons here at the bottom to add a new address, add a new site address, or add a new address for events and exhibitions. So whenever you search, ideally you want to find a gold key. If you can't find a gold key, find a silver key. If you can't find a silver key, you'd use one of these buttons here at the bottom. Now I'm going to pick this guy here. And you'll see here, whenever you see this yellow box top right, it means we are querying OpenReach dialog services to get some information, whether it's about the line or the address or booking an appointment or whatever. So whenever you see the system sort of waiting, it's generally for OpenReach, and you can see it on the top right. So as this is a PSTN provide, you've got the 3 options there, basic, premium or multi-line. I'm going to pick premium. Okay. And the system has gone off in the background and looked at the line plant for this particular address and presents to you the options you have available. So our system is entirely wizard-based, so it walks you through a path and gives you just the options you have available to you. So you don't need to worry too much about getting all the way to the end of an order, placing it, and then finding it's rejected. For example, there are no stop lines at this address, so as a result, we don't give the option to restart a stop line because we know there aren't any. So the only options here are to use a spare pair or to take over one of the 20 working lines at the address. If I hit use spare pair, the first step in the process from now on is to ask about simultaneous broadband. So obviously a lot of you will be partnered up with broadband suppliers, and if the broadband supplier supports simultaneous provision, then you can use this screen here to request that. And there's the 2 different flavors of simultaneous broadband, SIM1 and SIM2. SIM2, as it says here at the bottom, is the preferred process. It's soon to be ubiquitous next year as OpenReach have made or are making changes to consumer switching. So you can either, if you require simultaneous broadband, you can either use this generated code or you can key in a code of your own choosing if you've already placed the broadband order. Here you can configure extra extensions, so the number of additional NTEs, and you can also choose how the line is terminated. Obviously for premium lines, there's the 2 options. If this was a basic line, you wouldn't see that. It'd just be line box. And if you know the line's going to be used for RedCare, you can tick this box here to add a block terminal. Okay, the next step, as you can see top right, we're waiting for OpenReach, so that's going to be a pointing. Okay, whenever you do a pointing in our system, the screen looks like this. So we'll always work out the minimum lead time for you and use that to query OpenReach to say, give us all appointments starting from this date, and then we break them down here in a paginated form. You'll notice that some of them are red, and what this really means is this user has access to the flexible appointing role. So flexible appointments, the red ones, show up in this list. If the user didn't have that role, the screen would look exactly the same, but the red bits would be missing and they wouldn't be able to book them. So you can see all of the various options here, the early morning, late evening, and so on. You can obviously also use that picker to push the appointment book further out. If your customer's given you loads of notice and the 3-day lead time is too early for them, you can select a different appointment slot up to 90 days in the future. So for numbering, you've got 3 options. You can use auto number, which is where OpenReach will just give you the next available number, and you'll see it on screen in a few seconds. Or if you know a number is available through cessation, for example, so if a customer has ceased their line and then comes back to you and says, I didn't want that line ceased, I'm really sorry, can I have it back, please? Obviously, you wouldn't see that list in the list of available numbers because OpenReach hold it in a maturing pot for 2 years. So if you know it's definitely available, you can reserve it specifically. Or you can browse through a list of available numbers. So if your customer is looking for a CLI with a particular pattern, so they're 1, 2, 3, or perhaps 00 or 11, or yeah, you get the idea. You can filter it down to look for numbers of a particular pattern, or you can export it to CSV if you want to let the customer have a look. I'm going to use auto number because that's the most straightforward thing to do here. And in a few seconds, OpenReach should come back. There we go. And give us the number that was within reserved. And now we can choose calling and network features. So this screen is got quite a lot on it for PSTN lines. Obviously, it's customized to PSTN single lines because that's what we're providing. If this was a multi-line, it would look a bit different. And if it was I2 or I30, again, it would look different still. Most of the features are simple opt-in out. So caller display, for example, is a simple tick. Other features like call diversion is dropped down because they're mutually exclusive. So you can't have admin control call diver and smart diver on the line at the same time. So they're in a drop down to prevent you from doing that. Right at the bottom here is care level. So the picker there contains the valid care levels. And obviously post September 22nd, care level 2.5 will be available to you as a result of OpenReach's Business 2 Plus introduction. So you may or may not be aware of OpenReach's interesting changes in care levels and prices, but yeah, there is a new option that will be arriving shortly. Now, some contact details. So this is fairly self-explanatory. And you've got the option there adding extra details. If this is a business premises, you can tick this box and supply the name, and that goes in the engineer's notes. So the engineer knows that he's not looking for in a multi-tenancy building or a shopping centre or whatever. Supplying this information will help the engineer. And you've got the option there of hazard warnings and engineer's notes. Okay, directory entry. There's the 4 options there. And end user name for 999. These are the ones you're probably already familiar with. Okay, the final step is to choose TRCs. By default, they're set to unlimited, but we can change that default for you if you wanted it to be lower. You'll notice that there isn't a question for ECCs, and that's because we know that this is a new provide using a spare pair, so there shouldn't be any ECCs, so we just don't ask you about them. And that's the end of the order flow. So whenever you do any order in our system or any fault, you'll always get to this orange screen, which is asking you basically for confirmation. So you can see the details about the order you're about to place, and if you're happy, you can press yes. And there we go. Our order numbers always look like this in this format. Orders are always OR, faults are always TR for trouble report. And if I now go and look at that, we'll see our order screen. So our order screen looks like this, and will always look like this, irrespective of the type of order you're placing. So we've tried to make it consistent as possible. But on the left-hand side here, you can see a breakdown of the order. So you can see it's a goal provide, you can see the phone number, you can see the customer, which is what I mentioned earlier. You know this is a line for Boots the Chemist, where it's being installed, when you place the order, if it's appointed, when it's appointed for, what type of line's being installed. And on the right-hand side is a simple graphic that tells you the status within OpenReach's system. So if I refresh that, there we go, fantastic, it's moved on. So it's now in pending, and you can see the order now has an OpenReach job reference number, which you'll already be familiar with. Right at the bottom of the screen, you can see the order messages for KCIs. And there's just one at the moment, which is pending. And at the top here, the shortcuts box, you'll notice that there aren't that many shortcuts, and that's because the order's not in a suitable state to really have anything doing to it, because OpenReach only process cancellations and amendments once it's hit KCI 1 acknowledged, which it'll hopefully hit in a few seconds. Top right here, you can see associated tasks. Now, I've touched on these very briefly, but what we do whenever orders are in flight or faults, as we get KCIs from OpenReach, we analyze those KCIs and ascertain whether it's something that's of interest / important to you as a CP. Examples of those things are end users missing appointments, OpenReach issuing you a different appointment than the one you booked, new phone numbers being allocated, orders being cancelled, and so on. So whenever interesting things happen to your orders or faults, we'll raise a task, and they'll appear here against the order in question, but also of importance, they'll also appear under the task tab. If I hop over there, it's going to look pretty empty. There we go, no tasks found. But what this really is your personal work list. So orders and faults that you raise, whenever tasks appear on those orders or faults, like an appointment being issued, when a task is raised, you'll see it here under this task tab. And the idea really is that you check this task tab on a regular basis to become aware of issues or problems or interesting things that have happened with your orders. You can look at the task, a new phone number has been allocated. You can choose to provide that to the customer or not, and then close the task and it'll go away. So really, this task list, the ideal is that it looks like this and hey, all your tasks are closed, there's nothing to do. But obviously, if you had a few days off and came back, there might be a few tasks here. You can also toggle to see tasks raised from anyone in your team. So your counterparts, you can see their tasks too, and they can see yours. If I refresh this, hopefully, there we go, it's moved on to acknowledged, and now you can see that there is more information available. So you can now cancel the order, you can amend contact details and notes, you can book a new appointment, or if OpenReach has decided that actually they can't fulfill this order without EC band, then you can change this here. Show request order details. This gives you more information about the order that's been placed, so you can basically see everything that you entered on the previous, when you fulfilled the wizard, all of the things you inputted, you can see there. And conversation view of order, this is an interesting one because this allows you to see in a chronological view absolutely everything that's happened with an order. So I'm sure we've all seen sort of those horror show orders where it's been in flight for 2 months and OpenReach keep missing appointments and they keep going to site and without a hoist and so on and so forth, and you've had to rebook appointments and so on. And some of them get quite noisy. So when you look at it, there's quite a lot going on, and it's difficult sometimes to piece together what happened in what order. Conversation view screen allows you to see everything that's happened in chronological order, as well as seeing OpenReach order tracker notes. So if your user role has access to it, that was the order tracker role, whenever you hit the conversation view screen, we will go off and collect those order tracker notes from OpenReach's system and populate them in this screen here in the grey boxes. So you can see right up top, this was the order that was placed, and the green boxes are KCIs from OpenReach. So hey, it went pending, hey, it went acknowledged, and then there's some order and fault tracker notes here, the grey boxes. Now, obviously, this is a test system, and it hooks up to OpenReach's test system. So you'll see it's not really representative of real world, although given sort of jargon, it is actually pretty representative. And you can see now actually this order, as I've been speaking, has got a new KCI I've committed, and the appointment date is confirmed there. So whereas previously perhaps you've either not had access to order tracker, or you've had to raise issues, put requests in through Chess to get access to these notes for you. In our system, as long as you have that role, you can see those details directly on the portal without needing to go and contact anybody else. You don't need to look up in another system or open another browser or log on to the OpenReach website. The system will automatically go and grab them when you hit this conversation view screen and put them here in front of you. Okay, I'll go back to the order. We should see that it's, there we go, committed. And before that reach is completed, I'll just talk briefly about booking new appointments. Obviously here, again, it's all wizard-based. So once you hit amend new appointment, we'll go off and ask OpenReach for the appointment book. You can see it here and choose a new appointment. As you'd expect, you simply select it in the list, and then in a second, you'll see a box saying, please confirm that you wish to make the change. Yeah, you can supply additional details because you've changed the appointment.
Has joined the conference.
Choose an amendment reason, because OpenReach always require you to tell them why you're changing the order, and then you would simply press yes to confirm with OpenReach that you're booking your appointment. I won't do that because I'd quite like it to complete shortly. If you go back to the home page now, you can see that actually there is an open order, and you can see that it appears there on the
line muted
provisioning tab to show you that there are open orders. But whilst that completes, I'll go on and do an ISDN2 provide. So because I've already provisioned an account for Boots, you'll notice there I can search their account number and they appear. I can choose a new address. Sorry, as this is a test system, it doesn't contain a full build of all OpenReach addresses. So as you can see, there's lots of tests. So ISDN2 provision, just like PSTN provision, is all wizard-based. And here you can choose a type of ISDN product, either standard or system. And if it's system, you can choose how many channels you want. This is our numbering screen, and this is pretty flexible in that it allows you to request the DDI ranges or SNDDIs of your choice. And you can choose whether you want to just give the next available range or choose a particular starting telephone number or add a number that already exists elsewhere. So if, for example, you want to add an SNDDI here, but you know the number and you know it's already in use on another CP's line, you can key this in here. And when the order gets to a certain stage, you'll get a KCI notifying you that you need to arrange for that line to be ceased or renumbered to free up that number for your order. Also on this screen, if you had done a number import check, so if you've got a number that you want to bring over from a SIP service or Virgin Media, for example, then under the provisioning tab, you'll notice that one of the options was import a number for another operator, and that is where you go to generate a VIC code, which allows you to then import the number across to the BT network. And had you have done that, then when you got to this screen, there'll be another option in this list, which is choose one of my imported numbers, and you could pick that from a list. Okay, I'm just going to go with main number and an SNDDI. Again, book an appointment. And when OpenReach come back and confirm that appointment, there we go. You can choose the digits to switch, and whether it's point-to-point or point-to-multi-point. We'll see in an ISDN2 system, it's always point-to-point when there's DDIs. Contact details, just like the PSTN ones, although OpenReach require you to supply some additional information, such as floor and room name and number, and also where you'd like it installed, shelf-mounted, standalone, or wall-mounted. And you've got the options there for notes. Calling network features on I2, as I mentioned, the screen looks a bit different, but it works in exactly the same way. So you can ask for clip, you can ask for international and premium rate barring, you can choose presentation number, for example, and enter the number that you want presented, or divert, etc. Directory entry, exactly the same way. You can choose ECCs here and TRCs. Now, ECCs might apply to this ISDN order in case they need to do ducting. So we'll ask you for ECCs and TRCs. And just like all the other orders that you've seen so far, there's this final screen here asking you whether you'd like to proceed. And I'm going to say yes. Okay, there's our order number. And if I go and look at this order, you can see that this is our order screen for ISDN2, which looks remarkably similar to that of PSTN. But obviously, you can see there, this is an ISDN2 provide, and you're providing an ISDN2 system. hopefully my PSTN order is completed, and it has. So if I go back to the home page, you can see there's only one open order, the one I placed less than a minute ago. So I go and look at my order history. There we go. There's my order. Thankfully, as this is a test system, OpenReach progressed them really, really quickly. It'd be nice if they did this in the real world, but you can see here this order has, in inverted commas, completed, and a new line has been installed. And right at the bottom here, you can see the KCIs confirming that when it was installed and that the feature's gone live and so on. And if we were to look at the conversation view screen now, you'd see some additional order tracker notes. There we go, completed, and we can see some extra bits and pieces here. Now, this phone number, you'll notice, is underlined. And whenever you see an underlined phone number in our system, what that really means is we know about this phone number. There's an installation in our system that is associated with this phone number. So when acquisitive orders complete, that's not the end of our relationship with that phone line. So our system is sort of more than just a provisioning and an assurance system. We also hold inventory records for every line that you own. And that's useful for a number of reasons. So if I click on it, you'll see what that screen looks like. And here we are at our inventory screen. So there'll be one screen for every single phone line that you own, and it'll look like this. On the right-hand side, you can see the customer who owns the line, where it's installed, the OpenReach address reference key. You can see the phone number. Here you'd also see SNDDIs, DDI ranges, and so on if it were digital. You can see termination type, a list of features that we know the line has, and PIN numbers and divert numbers if they're applicable. You can see here the list of orders affecting this line, so historic or in-flight. And obviously this line has got one order because that's the one I placed a few moments ago. Trouble reports, you can see the in-flight or historic trouble reports, and also customer leaving notifications where you'll see details of lines that are pending loss. And at the top here, you can see the shortcuts box, and this is context sensitive. So what this really means is this is where you go to do things with this line, like raise a fault or change this or bar it or cease it. But that's covered in a subsequent session. Okay, if I head back to the provisioning tab, we should see that the ISTN2 order is in flight. Yeah, and now this is moving on. And just like the PSTN order, there's now some extra options here available, such as cancel the order and so on. The download OpenReach XML link, that is useful if you want to raise a bridge case with OpenReach. So if OpenReach have rejected your order for some spurious reason, and they're asking you to raise a bridge case, then 9 times out of 10 they'll ask you for the XML in order to do that, and you can extract it from our system via that link. Okay, transfers. Now, obviously transfers are the single most common order in WLR, and like-for-like transfer is the most common of that subtype. So as a result, there are a number of different ways you can do a like-for-like transfer. So it's important to know that OpenReach don't actually have a transfer called like-for-like transfer. This entirely is a sort of pseudo thing created by TPIs. So OpenReach just have a transfer order type. And whenever you request a transfer, you need to tell OpenReach everything that you want to add onto that line as part of that transfer. And in conjunction with obtain installation details, which is the dialog service that you use to learn what a line looks like, whenever you in our portal request a like-for-like transfer, what we really do is say to OpenReach, tell us everything that's on this line right now, and then we bundle that into a transfer order and send it on to OpenReach. So whenever you talk to OpenReach, if you say like-for-like transfer to them, probably won't mean a great deal because it's not an order type that they provide. Why it's important to know that is that sometimes OpenReach's records are wrong, and although the customer might have caller display on their line in reality, i.e. it's provisioned at the switch with caller display, if their records don't contain caller display, i.e. if you did an OID, you don't see caller display, what that really means is if you did a transfer, a like-for-like transfer, as it's not in the records, our request to OpenReach wouldn't contain, hey, please add caller display. So post-transfer, they would lose that feature. So if you've ever done a like-for-like transfer of a customer's line and post-transfer they've lost something they used to have, then that's generally because it wasn't present in OpenReach's records at the time of transfer. So like-for-like transfer, 3 different ways of doing it. A single transfer, as the name suggests, is just where you've got a single phone number and postcode. multiple transfers or bulk transfers. So single transfer, obviously we're going to ask you for the detail. And there we go, choose our line. And we're going to key in the phone number there. So bear with me a second. Let me go and find another phone line for us to cannibalize. Obviously, in a test system, OpenReach don't have a full map of all phone numbers, so we need to borrow one from another test system. There we go. So as you can see, the minimum details you need to supply is phone number and postcode. If it's a BT retail line with CPS on it, and it's your CPS and you want to keep it, you can choose to do that here, and you can enter a required by date here. So we're going to go off an OID line. So there we go. You can see that this is currently a premium single line. It's on care level 4. It doesn't have any features on it. Okay, and that's all there is to a like-by-like transfer. And just like the rest of the screens you've seen, they look like this: graphic on the right-hand side, details of the order on the left-hand side. Multiple transfers works in a very similar way. That's if you have, say, a handful of numbers and you want to do a sequential transfer this, transfer that, transfer the other. If they're all for the same customer, say you've won 10 lines for Boots the Chemist, what it really means is we'll only ask you for the customer name once, and then we will use it at the same time every time. And bulk transfers is where you can upload a list of phone numbers and postcodes from an Excel file or CSV file. So you can see here, you can either upload an Excel file or paste the data in CSV format. If you press Help, it'll give you a breakdown of what we require in that input file. And you can see there, you can actually download a sample Excel file there and populate it with your details. So we don't ask you for a great deal in the bulk transfer thing. But obviously, if you do win business and it's of a suitable size and you don't want to plug them all into manually in the system, 9 times out of 10, these numbers exist in a spreadsheet somewhere, and you can use the system to facilitate a full like-for-like transfer in bulk. And the good thing about doing a bulk like-for-like transfer is you can report on that bulk transfer via one screen. So you can effectively look at a list of CLIs associated with that bulk transfer, view their progress, filter out just the rejected orders and so on. So the system provides a neat way of encapsulating them all into a little project. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I believe I was going to cover on this first demo. Chris, I'm not sure whether there's anything I've forgotten or if there's any questions. Chris, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Sorry about that, I had to find me. There's that many people on, that many users on it, I had to find the one that I was, so unmute it. Yeah, actually, I think it has covered most of the stuff that we wanted to do today on provision, a bit quicker than I thought we would, so that's good. So yeah, I think it has covered most things. All I would say to everybody on the call, if you do have any questions, please email them in. Resellers, obviously, if you want to either email directly into me, I'm quite happy for that, or if you want to email into sales support, they can pass them on, and I will field them out to Matt, and then we'll see how we go from there. There are further sessions later on in the week, so hopefully you've had invites to those. So if you can make them, please come on them. This has been recorded as well, and it will be made available to everybody. I'm not quite sure exactly how we're going to do it. We're going to email it out, probably put it on the reseller portal, whichever we will let you know. So if you want to go back through or pass it on to other members of staff, within your company, then they can look through this as well. So hopefully that's been informative. Gives you an idea of what it is that you're going to be looking at. All your existing services will be moved over on the date that this occurs, which is the 22nd of September, or the evening of the 22nd of September. So we'll be in touch about your logins and everything else regarding that. So hopefully we'll see you on some further sessions going forward. And obviously let me know if you feel like there's anything that maybe you'd like us to cover that's any different to what we've told you we were going to send out. We can always sort something out and make sure we do some kind of session on that if you feel like we've missed anything. But I think everything should be covered in these sessions that we're doing. So I'll take this opportunity to just thank you all for coming on, and thank you, Matt, for doing that. And we'll speak to you all soon.
Okay, no worries. Okay, thanks everybody.
Ben.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
Has left the conference, 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 has left the conference.